In any school system, golf is probably viewed as a financial liability because there's expenses associated with running the sport. So we're going to hopefully give you some ways today that you can offset some of that. Hi, I'm Ted Bishop along with Crystal Morse, and we'd like to welcome you to episode 2 of the High School Golf Podcast. Today, Crystal, we're going to talk about how to make your high school golf program financially successful. And I say that because high school golf is a non-revenue sport. What I mean by a non-revenue sport is the fact that, with the exception of the IHSA state finals, there is no admission charge that's passed off to any of the spectators. No tickets are sold to watch a high school golf match. So consequently, there's absolutely no revenue associated with high school golf. And if you're an athletic director in any school system, golf is probably viewed as a financial liability because there's expenses associated with running the sport. So we're going to hopefully give you some ways today that you can offset some of that. Once you talk a little bit about our high school budgets here at Franklin. And we're going to be very transparent with numbers today because I think it'll just kind of help you understand how things work at a school like ours, and maybe you can, relatively speaking, make these numbers work for your program too.
Yeah, let's dig in to the specifics here, Ted. So as a reminder, our enrollment here at Franklin, for those that aren't familiar, we have 1,500 to 1,600 students. So definitely not one of the biggest schools in the state, but not one of the smallest. So we are allocated, each team, the boys team and the girls team, are allocated $1,500 a piece by the school. Now, let's talk about our needs for each team. Our needs for each team are going to include uniforms, equipment. We don't get bags every year, only really for the incoming freshmen or if we need a replacement. Golf balls, gloves, just necessary equipment that the players may need. Nutrition, food's going to be a big one for after-school matches, for 18-hole tournaments. Those can be long days. So food is a big necessity, and it's something that we make sure our kids have. Practice rounds for big tournaments, whether it's sectionals, regionals, state tournament, conference tournament. Practice rounds are important to be able to perform your best. Indoor practice during the off season here at the Morse Golf Academy, and any of the special awards for players. So our end of the year banquet, our player recognition, any special awards that they may need. So how much grand total does each team require? Boys team and girls team, we're looking at $9,000 per season.
Yeah, and I might add that typically here at Franklin, we would have 10 to 12 players that would be on our teams. That'll vary year to year. I know there's some of the larger schools in the state. They may field 3, and I heard Center Grove this spring is going to field 4 teams in boys golf. But here at Franklin, those are typically our numbers, and it's we've had the opportunity from time to time to field 2 teams and go play in some secondary tournaments, but I would say that we don't really have a junior varsity team year in and year out, and I would say that the vast majority of high schools in Indiana would be operated the same that we are, and probably have a very similar number of players that we have.
I would agree. So, Ted, why don't we start from the beginning of when we started coaching, which was right before COVID is when we took over, and talk to us about the formation of the Franklin Golf Club, how that came about, and let them know a little bit about it.
Yeah, absolutely. We started coaching here at Franklin in November of 2019. The 2020 boys season was wiped out due to COVID. The Indiana High School Golf Coaches Association put on a tournament at the end of what would have been the same dates as the state tournament. It was supposed to be a club golf or a team golf tournament that was going to replace the state tournament, so at least those boys had something to play and look forward to. And in the process, you and I decided to start the Franklin Golf Club, which was simply going to be a playing opportunity for our players. And I think we collected a little bit of money from parents, and we used that to just buy our players a shirt for that team championship that was going to take place. And in the meantime, we looked at our budgets, and we also looked at what you and I felt like were the resources that we were going to need to coach these teams the way we wanted to coach them, and to also be competitive with the teams that were on our schedule. And so at that point in time, we decided to form a 501c3 called the Franklin Golf Club, Inc. And we had a local attorney who was an alum of Franklin High School Golf, and he was very helpful in getting this set up for us as a 501c3. The work that he did not charge us for. There was a filing fee that we had to go through another attorney for, and ultimately this went to the state of Indiana for approval to get this non-for-profit status set up. And I think our total initial cost was $350. So the whole point of that story for you out there is there's got to be somebody in your community that plays golf that is a lawyer who could help you do this, and probably would help you do it at a minimal or nominal cost. So the first thing was to get this vehicle in place, 501c3.
How long did the process take from when we decided we wanted to form that to when we could actually, when it came into formation?
Sure. I think it was about a 4-month process, probably a 120-day process to get the final approval done by the state of Indiana. Any attorney that you have help you with this formation of a 501c3 is going to have a boilerplate agreement for a 501c3. We have a 5-member board that oversees the Franklin Golf Club. I'm the president. You're the treasurer. We have 3 at-large members who are all based here in Franklin, who are all alumni of the Franklin High School golf program. One of those people is our athletic director at the high school. And we're required by the bylaws to meet a couple of times a year and obviously share the financials with our board. We have to file a tax return. We do have a $350 accounting fee each year that we pay to get those financials done and to file that tax return. Obviously, we set up a checking account that all of our monies go into, and operate it like you figure that you probably would once you have this thing set up. Another component to the Franklin Golf Club is that we also give away scholarships to players that have been in our program, graduating seniors who've been in the program for 4 years who meet certain criteria, and they have to apply through the high school, and they have to write an essay on what the Franklin Golf Club and their experiences in our program actually mean to them. So there's a selection process that the board goes through, but that's another component of what we try to do here at Franklin.
So let's continue the discussion on how to actually raise the money once you get your 501c3 established. And for those who don't have that established, further on in the podcast, we'll give you some ideas on what you can be doing now going into the season to also raise some money. So how to raise money. The first thing we did, I think the first year that we had it, we had a basic membership fee, $40 to become a member of the Franklin Golf Club. That was, I think, our only giving level. It was how we got started and really targeted our current players at that time. So we asked our current players the first year we had it to join and then bring a foursome is how we asked them. So basically we needed our player to join, and then the player was responsible for getting 4 other people to join the Franklin Golf Club at that $40 fee. and a great way to get family, obviously parents, grandparents, and family friends. It gave us a baseline to establish an email database, but just a member database that we could then draw on each year and establish that connection with the community. So,
yeah, one thing I might add is kind of our logic on join and bring a foursome was that's 5 times 40 was $200. Neither one of our teams had golf bags at that point in time, so we needed to figure out a way to buy golf bags. And even though $200 didn't quite cut what the cost of the bag was going to be with the appropriate artwork and the freight and all that kind of stuff, at least it made a major dent in what that bag was going to cost. I think that bag wholesaled for like $225, so that did help us cover the bulk of the cost of these bags. And again, I would remind people, this is what we said in the first podcast, but when you and I took over, our teams they got one shirt basically from our athletic department, and that was pretty much it in the way of a uniform, and our teams had no golf bags.
Yeah, so that golf bag program, where if you would join and bring a foursome, you would then get a golf bag that they would keep. Really, they would keep it, have their name on it, and keep it. Now, say you had a player come in that maybe they were just picking up golf, or maybe they were a new player and didn't do that program, they would still get a golf bag, but they would have to return it at the end of the season.
Correct.
Yeah. So that's where it started, and it's definitely evolved over the years, over the last 4 years. It's evolved quite a bit. Right now, we have our individual membership at $75. So baseline, we just expect all of our players, especially if they're going to be eligible for the scholarship or just a basic expectation of the program, is to join the Franklin Golf Club for $75. Then we have a family membership for $125. Above that, we have a $250 giving structure, and then a $500. And those are the options that we offer. Some people choose to go beyond that, or they really can choose whatever level works for them.
They can. I think the interesting thing about having those various levels is currently, and we just kicked off our 2025 membership campaign in January, but our average contribution is $267, to the point you just made that some people can give more. And we have also had the luxury here of having some anonymous donors who have given amounts like $5,000 and $10,000 to the program. And they either played in the program or cared a lot about the program and were fortunately, I guess, impressed enough with what our kids have done and how we've tried to run these programs, in that they've been sustainable donors, which has also helped our program very much so.
For those who are just starting out, maybe you're just taking the program over, maybe you have nothing to draw from. How do you get those donors? How do you get people to give money to your program? It's a big question, because nowadays it feels like, you're being asked to give money left and right. Especially here at the golf course, we get people all the time asking to, give to silent auctions and give this. So you're being asked a lot, whether it's your kid's school, maybe they're having fundraisers. There's so many other programs. So how we've been able to develop that, it does help that we are obviously here at the golf course. It's busy. We're very involved with the community. We see people, hundreds and hundreds of people a day during the season, and we're able to build that relationship and build that connection with them. Obviously, another thing that helps build that connection with the community is running our player development programs here at the Legends, as far as PGA Junior League, clinics, things like that. Clinics is a great option too. Really becoming involved in your community, meeting people, developing the relationship with people, and letting them know what you're doing with your program.
Yes, and we, over the years, have had a telethon where we had players get on the phone and call people. This was, I think, in year 2 after we had our database in place. And I think people really enjoyed the interaction they had in getting a phone call from one of our players. We've had an open house where people actually had the opportunity to come out and meet the players. And then I think in year 3, we actually had a seminar that we did here in January where we brought in Dr. Bob Winters, a sports psychologist, and we opened it to the public. And again, we invited some of the people, all the people that had been members of the Franklin Golf Club had the opportunity to come out and attend this, and we charged a nominal fee to cover what the cost of the sports psychologist was. But if you play golf and you wanted to possibly help your own mental game, then it was a great sidelight to come out and hear Dr. Bob speak. And we had a phenomenal turnout that day. So we have tried to come up with a lot of creative and different things that we could do, but the whole purpose of it was to expose people to our players. Our players are the best salespeople that we have for this program. When you see the quality of kids that we have in our program, and if you can get any kind of interaction with your players and the public, it's pretty hard for people to turn down supporting a bunch of good young men and women.
One thing that we did as well is we had a clinic. So I ran a clinic one summer specifically for the Franklin Golf Club. And what we did for that is basically I structured a clinic for elementary and middle school players and charged a nominal fee. I think it was a $15 fee. And that fee went back to the Franklin Golf Club. So it was a way to raise money to put into the Franklin Golf Club. I had some of our players help. If you're not a PGA professional, don't worry about that. There's obviously ways that you can structure a clinic where kids will find it beneficial, and you don't have to necessarily, make them have perfect swings by the end of it. I would see coaches and players being able to team together that during the season to do this, charge a fee. That fee goes back to to help your teams. And it's a great way to establish community connection, get kids out here to the golf course. So just another thought there.
Yeah, and another thing that we did is we established the Franklin Grizzly Cub merchandise den here at the Legends, and we actually brought Franklin apparel in to the golf shop, and we did a profit-sharing program with the Franklin Golf Club where a percentage of the sales actually went to the Franklin Golf Club. And that was also a successful way of raising money. You and I have chosen not to do a golf outing. And the reason for that is very simple. Almost every sport in our athletic department is doing a golf outing. So we have tried to reach out and do some different things.
Ted, talk to them about the long-term fundraising that we've really just started developing this year.
Thanks, Crystal. Yeah, we did. We had an anonymous donor who has been very active in our program who came to us with the idea of he was going to fund the implementation of a really nice outdoor clock into a landscaped area by our putting green. And we were going to create yet another level of giving where people who had lost a loved one or who wanted to memorialize some kind of a contribution to a friend, fellow golfer, whatever, would have the opportunity to do that. And the goal there, and we'll kick this program off in probably around Memorial Day, will be to find 100 people that would pledge $2,500 in this program. Interestingly, we've already had 2 people step forward, a $5,000 donor and a $12,000 donor. And the way this program is set up, and it's kind of aside from our annual memberships, which are very critical to our operational aspect of the Franklin Golf Club, but the long-term giving, 50% of whatever is donated will stay in an endowment fund. Then the other 50% will go to help fund operations of our Franklin High School teams and your junior programs here at the Legends, PGA Junior League.
Yep, clinics that will help promote
First Tee.
Yeah, the development of obviously juniors in the community, which is important. So that's really our long-term fundraising. So there's a lot of different stuff here. It's so important to have those yearly memberships. That's really that's our bread and butter, what we need to fund our teams, and then structuring this long-term fundraising is another. I mean, it's a huge part of the program, and it's a legacy that's going to be able to help Franklin Golf and really develop, the team and the legacy that we want to leave. Let's give some of our coaches' perspectives. We've talked a little bit about some of the things you can do to raise money. What can coaches do now? If you're going into your season in the spring, it's going to take 3 to 4 months if you decide to do this 501c3. What can coaches do right now to look forward to their season and say, hey, what can I do to raise money for this spring season?
Well, we still charge an annual player fee, and I think almost every sport here at Franklin High School charges some type of a player fee to offset some initial expenses. So that's certainly an immediate way to do it. And I just want to talk a little bit about how we outfit our teams, and I'll just talk about the boys in the spring, and it's no stranger for anybody that's familiar with boys golf to know that the weather that we play in is a lot different at the beginning of the season than it is at the end, when it starts in the middle of March and it ends in the middle of June. So we typically would have a couple of golf shirts, we'd have a couple of outerwear pieces, we would have a long pair of pants, we would have a pair of shorts, we would have 2 or 3 hats, and that would be what our basic standard uniform issue is. We would charge a $150 player fee for the boys, and that doesn't cover the cost of the entire uniform package, but it certainly goes a long way to offset that. We talked in episode 1 about the importance of having a relationship with your PGA professional at your local golf course. We're fortunate in that I'm one of the owners here. You obviously are my head professional here. So any of the uniforms, bags, balls, gloves that we get for our teams, we're actually able to buy at wholesale. And a lot of programs might not have that luxury, but again, the more you can befriend your local PGA professional, your golf course owners, they'll probably give you some kind of a pricing break on the stuff that you need. The clothing package that we would have for the girls would be totally different because the nature of the seasons and the weather is different as well, but that's kind of how we would handle that whole thing.
So I would say if you do not have a 501c3 set up, the first thing you could do is first look at your budget. What does your school give you? What do you need? Break it down very specifically on what you need to run the season, how you think it needs to be ran. What do your players need, and what do you need to run a successful program? I would just put the budget out there for what you want, and see kind of where you're at.
Yeah, I mean, that's the first thing you do. You put your budget together, you go get with your athletic director, you see what funding the school is going to give you, and then you figure out where you're going to come up with the monies to offset whatever the difference in all that might be, for sure.
Looking down the road, here's a couple things that you can do to start establishing a kind of a database for fundraising. Couple things we have in place. Communication is going to be key. We have an email database that we've grown over the years. Not only do we have an email database of Franklin players and families, but we can shoot out emails included in our club newsletters that goes out to like 6,000 people. So if your golf course has an email newsletter and they're local, maybe you can discuss with them about putting something in their newsletter about supporting the program. So email database, social media is a big one because a lot of times emails go overlooked. So anything you can do on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, or any other social media outlets, that's a big one. We have a Franklin Golf Facebook page and a YouTube page that we're going to utilize a lot more this year. What we're finding is getting videos out there that help people learn about our players. We want people to learn about our program, learn about our players so that they want to support it and that they feel good about supporting our program. So email database, newsletters, social media outlets, and really getting information out there about your team is going to be important so people see what you're doing.
The other thing that I would add is I'm always surprised every year how many people give money to the Franklin Golf Club in some form or another who really have no connection to Franklin or to any of our kids, but they play golf here and they have seen firsthand the kids out here and what we're trying to do with them as coaches, and they appreciate that. And it's so don't sell yourself short. You watch this or listen to this podcast, and you're probably like, man, they've got a lot more resources to draw from than I do. That's not necessarily true. You just have to kind of start from ground zero and build your contact base. And like Crystal said, the more communication you can do with people, putting your players on display and making people aware of what their accomplishments are, and they're all relative to the team that you have and the community that you live in, that will be a great attraction to people.
I want to give one other piece of advice. If any PGA professionals are listening to this, one of the really cool things that we've added here at the Legends is Youth on Course. So we've become a partner with Youth on Course. If you don't know what that is, look it up. It's a great national program that helps kids be able to play at an affordable rate. So they can come out and walk 9 holes for $5. And it makes the game accessible. Here in Indiana, if you sign up for any of their IGA tournaments, you automatically become a Youth on Course member, or you can join separately. Most of our players have signed up for IGA summer tournaments. If not, we encourage them to join Youth on Course. We use it here at the Legends, so anytime that they go out and play practice rounds, qualifying rounds, practice, anything they do, the golf course can record those rounds as Youth on Course rounds. So it helps offset if you're not charging the school a course use fee or anything like that. It helps offset some of the fees to the golf course. And then also for players and families, how you're going to find the Youth on Course membership beneficial is, especially if you go on break, summer break, spring break, fall break, that Youth on Course membership is good nationally. So all you do is hop on their website, you look for other golf courses that are Youth on Course partners, and you can make a tee time there and your player can walk for $5. So it's a great way when you're on vacation to play great courses, or even if you're here in Indiana to play some different courses at a reasonable price. So little tip there for golf course operators: become a Youth on Course partner, and for parents and players, join that Youth on Course movement. Makes it a lot more accessible.
Yeah, and as we close this out, I would just like to say there's a lot of stuff here, okay? And feel free to contact either one of us via email, and we can hook up by phone if we need to. But my email address is tedbishop38pga@aol.com.
Mine is crystal@thelegendsgolfclub.com. And you can email us anytime if you have questions. Feel free to comment, too, on any of our social media. The High School Golf Podcast is on Apple. It's on Spotify. It's on YouTube. So you can listen to us anywhere. Subscribe. That way you don't miss any of the content that we're putting out here.
Yeah, and particularly on this one, if we've tripped a switch with you and you think of 2 or 3 key people that might really be able to help you with your program and find ways to raise money, feel free to share the podcast with them and let them listen directly to what we've had to say. Once again, we'd like to thank everybody for listening or watching this podcast today. I think this is a very important topic that will hopefully help your program out in the future. The next podcast that we're going to do will feature Ambry Santillo, who's the 21-year head golf coach at St. John's University, and we're going to talk about how to communicate with today's players. And I think that'll be a very interesting topic for a lot of people. So for Ted Bishop and Crystal Morse, we'd like to thank you for listening to this edition of the High School Golf Podcast.